you got to shoot a very, very special event this year in the Winter Classic in Chicago at Wrigley Field. That is definitely the furthest from a normal hockey game you will ever get, because I've done one myself. But it's such a cool event. What was it like from your perspective to capture an outdoor hockey game at one of the most historic baseball stadiums in the world?
When I was younger, my dad and my brother and I, we went to the outdoor game at Soldier Field against Pittsburgh. And this was years ago, like Little Ryan, talking Little Ryan, right? Here I was as a fan all these years ago. And now here I am doing what I love, like on New Year's Eve in Chicago, like you said, at Wrigley, iconic venue. It's just another hockey game, right? Like it's still a game, but you're outside, right? Like under the lights, like it was so cool. Like
it's surreal for sure.
It is like, it's hard to explain. It's like one of those things. It's hard to explain unless like you've been there, like either as a fan or working like in either capacity. Over 10 out of 10.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Sports Creative Showcase. We are on episode 19, one more away from the season finale, and I have a fantastic guest here with me today. Out of Chicago, fresh off of shooting Connor Bedard and Connor McDavid in the same night, Ryan Alioto. Ryan is a freelance creative based in Chicago who is currently in NHL LLC. He also has done work in NASCAR. You've done work with the Chicago Fire. You did Olympic trials. You are a all-around creative in the Chicago area. How are you, sir? How have you been? Welcome to the podcast.
Glad to be here. Last night was a late one, but we're here. We made it. And yeah, glad to chat with you.
Give me a little, not me, give the guests, the people listening, a little background as to who you are. I gave you a little intro, but from your own words, who are you? What do you do? What are you up to?
Yeah, so 24 years old, based here just outside of Chicago, freelancing full-time in the sports industry. I've been super lucky enough to, be a part of some super epic things, ended last year with the Winter Classic. Like, I know we'll chat about that later. And Olympic trials, NASCAR in Chicago, navigating COVID sort of in the sports career. That's kind of like where I started, unfortunately, just timing with that.
One thing I want to touch on really quickly is you just said, obviously, I know you and I both worked last night in our own individual ways, but you got off a game last night where you're shooting the best hockey player in the world and one of the best up and coming hockey players in the world. Does that ever get tiring for you or boring for you? The fact that it's another Wednesday night, 9 p.m. I'm just shooting does that ever register that you get to do that for a living, or does it just kind of get monotonous after a while?
It's crazy. It's definitely a lot of pinch myself moments, especially as a young creative and as someone who enjoys watching sports and grew up, playing sports, stuff like that. And, be there amongst the best and the up and coming best. It's epic. Sometimes it's am I really doing this?
Something out of a dream. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And, you definitely got to stop yourself and realize hey, we're here, we made it. And there's bigger things that I'm looking forward to as well. It's it's always, the bar is always moving, you're amongst some of the best and you're always striving to be your best in those situations. So getting to work alongside some of the most talented athletes, it's epic. It's fun. I love it.
Yeah. No, and I like what you said there. It kind of pushes you to want to keep getting better and better and better and growing in your craft. Can you give us an idea of how you got to where you are now with the NHL, with your own freelance creative business? You mentioned you started a little bit over COVID, but just give me the journey of Ryan so far up until this point in this industry.
So sports wise, started during COVID. Shout out to my guy John Bach, another Chicago creative legend. He brought me on to kind of just do some BTS with the Chicago Fire. And at the time, they were transitioning back to playing in Chicago. And I was kind of just there to, gather the BTS as well as provide them with photos of Chicago. That's kind of really how I started, the whole photo video journey. And they were super interested in some of my Chicago artwork. And they were like, hey, could we use some images of the skyline? Could we use some images of Soldier Field where they were going to be playing, stuff like that. And I was like, heck yeah, sure. And then eventually they're like, hey, come out to the home opener. Like, let's let let's have you out, and we'll give you, a shot list, and hit your shot list, and then you can shoot some soccer. And I was pumped. I was like, you know what? Like, this is gonna be epic. Like, I've been
Yeah.
wanting to get into the sports world, and like I was like, all right, this is gonna be my in. And then COVID happened, and everything shut down, and there were no sports, there was no anything. And I was like, damn, like, this is an opportunity that got away from me, and it might pop up again, it might not pop up again. So the whole sports thing was kind of put on the back burner, along with just about everything else in the world. And at the time I was like, dang, like I was really defeated. Like I felt like I was, there in getting in, and finally getting to kind of do what I was excited to want to do. And then for it to kind of just, go away, it was like, damn, like it was really defeating.
Yeah.
However, come summer, hey, like we'd love to have you out for the home opener. There's going to be no fans. Like you have to shoot from the stands, stuff like that. I was like, I'm there. Count me in, So eventually they were able to have that home opener later on. And from that kind of catapulted into, freelancing with them, and, working alongside their creative team, their social team, stuff like that. And then that kind of just bridged its way into kind of what I've been doing, like it was soccer for a long time, some college basketball, and then the opportunity with the NHL popped up. And I know, shout out to you and I chatted about that on social, and you got me in touch with Nicole and the team here in New York. And originally, this is a funny story. I'll share this, and we can cut this if
we'll see. Well, yeah,
we'll see. So originally, I interviewed for the position, and I didn't get it originally. So I was like, oh, like I went into it, open minded, like as one should, and and they went a different direction. And then at the end of last year, they reached out to me, and they were like, hey, like we have opportunity in Chicago again. Like, are you interested in jumping on board for the rest of the season? And I was like, you know what? Like, let's go. Like, let's see what this is about. And so I started right at the end of last year. So I filled in for the second half of the season here in Chicago. So this year now is my first full season so far. I love it. I like it. It's fun.
No, that's wicked, man. I there's a lot to your path there that I would love to just touch on. I love the fact that I think so many people, including myself, ran into the same situation you did during COVID. Sports shut down, work kind of stopped. You might have lost a job or an opportunity. Yeah. I feel like a lot of people, for them, that was kind of like okay, I'm done with this industry. I'm going to try somewhere else. But I really relate to you. You're like, this might come back. You never know. And clearly you kind of kept with it and found that opportunity again the following summer when things kind of opened up again. What made you want to keep going and keep trying for this? What was the driving force there that I think kind of cemented that in your mind that you wanted to pursue this?
Yeah. So like I grew up playing sports, and like when I started this whole creative journey, like I didn't really realize, you could work and do this kind of thing in sports. And then once like I started seeing these opportunities kind of pop up where, I'm able to share my craft and my love for sports, I was like, that's it. Like I want to just full steam ahead and get to a point where I can work and do what I love alongside like another passion I have in sports. And I think, having that motivation to, like I want to make it here. I want to, shoot this. I want to shoot that. I think really kind of like set myself up for success. And, there's still goals I'm chasing, but every day at a time, I think it's important to kind of like, set a goal for yourself and do what you got to do to make it happen.
I totally agree. And I love that perspective, because I feel like a lot of people get really defeated when things don't go their way. And you're a very prime example of like, even though you got knocked down, you got back up again.
Right.
I also really want to quickly touch on the importance of your network there, because you got the opportunity in Chicago through, was it John?
Yeah.
Obviously a big chunk of that is your work and your work ethic and who you are as a person. That speaks for itself. But can you touch on the importance of having that network and how important
Absolutely.
it is even up until now to get these opportunities? Because
Yeah.
so many people get in their own heads of I'm not finding things, but they're not taking the time to network with the right people.
Yeah.
Can you give me a little walkthrough as to the importance of networking on your end?
Absolutely. And I think overall, like, networking is number one. I think it starts with networking and, you know, meeting those people, meeting the right people. And how can you, as somebody new in the network, like, can you make a name for yourself, but also get the right eyes on you to, you know, touch bases with this person or with that person, connect with this person, connect with that person. And I think, especially in sports, like, I know you talk about all the time, the sports community, it's very big, but it's very small, right? A lot of people know everybody. And, you know, I've been lucky enough myself to become friends with a lot of people and connect with a lot of people in all aspects of all sports around the country and some around the world. And I think, you know, just building those good relationships with the right people is by far number one. And, you know, if you really want to shoot hockey, right? I think, you know, you want to connect with people in that space as well as, you know, people outside that space or people in marketing. So I think you want to set a broad network, but you also, like, if you're really passionate about something, you want to really dial that network in with people who are in there and know the game, know what it takes to, you know, work in that sport and stuff. So I think overall, just build those connections. I think that's, if there's one takeaway from today, I think it's just build those connections with those people, be nice to people. You know, I try my best to get back to all the DMs that I get, like, within a timely fashion. And, you know, like, when I miss one, it's like, damn, like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm busy. But,
It's
you know,
I think you realize, like, it's not easy to keep up with that stuff when people
no.
are it comes a little more.
And another big thing to kind of just go off that, like, when I was, like, you know, reaching out to connect with people, like, these people, you know, reached out to me in, like, a very timely fashion and gave me all the insight or help or advice that I was searching for. So a lot of times, like, if somebody reaches out to me, I try and give that back to them, right? Like, that's just, like, I'm kind of passing it down from who passed it down to me in hopes of, you know, I give somebody great information, then they'll pass it along to somebody. And it's just this ever flow of, you know, we're all helping each other. You know, we're not, no gatekeeping around here.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. I'm a really big believer in that and not gatekeeping, which is kind of the reason I do all this thing, like the podcast and the YouTube channel. Is that not gatekeeping? I want to talk, obviously, the coolest thing I think that you have on your resume so far, and I mentioned it kind of off the top, is you get to shoot a player like Connor Bedard during the very early stages of his career. You came in halfway through last year's rookie season. Now it's his second year. But before we even get to that, what were your, like, how did you get your start as a videographer? When did you start shooting? How old were you? And what did you start doing in sports? Because you kind of started where you got that opportunity from John, but how did you build your portfolio to get to that point early on?
Yeah. So early on, like, when I started back in high school, you know, like, I was just going to Chicago, taking photos of Chicago, right? Like, and, like, nothing related to sports whatsoever. I didn't shoot any sports in high school or, you know, like, go anywhere to shoot sports, whatnot. And then, like I touched upon earlier, like, the opportunity with John, it wasn't really anything on the field related at all, right? Like, we were going around the city doing, like, a ticket activation and, you know, passing out tickets, whatever. And here I am, behind the scenes photos, right? And then that led me into, you know, like, going to the Fire games, and I was like, all right, I'm going to hit the shot list, get everything they need, and then I'm going to shoot for myself and, you know, figure out how to shoot sports, right? Live sports, live action sports. Like, there's a big learning curve there. And, like, I would just, you know, go to the game, shoot a ton of images, not even any video yet. And, you know, all right, I like this photo. I don't like this photo, right? And then that branched into doing a lot of like social stuff for them. So like I would, run around with my phone and, be behind the goal and do that kind of stuff. And that was kind of starting to branch into the video side of things. And I was like, I kind of really like this video thing, right? Video really took off for me with NASCAR. So basically when they had the race here in Chicago, I was kind of, on the ground here, and I was doing a lot of the video prep stuff. So I was like not every day, but like every week there'd be something to pop up, like a media tour with a driver, or they send me out to like a cement factory where they're building the walls for the race. Right. And we'd get B-roll and video of that, stuff like that. And then like, that's really where I was like, okay, I like doing the video. Like, how can I make that leap into, more video than photo. Right. And I think with NASCAR, that was kind of my big leap because I was only doing video with them. So when I would be at races, there'd be, we'd be doing like day recaps for the race and stuff. So like, I don't think I ever flipped my camera to photo mode, like at all that summer. Like it was video, right? And I traveled to a couple races after Chicago and same thing, video. And so I think that's really where it took off. And now I would say video for me is like 95% of what I do now. And with the NHL, where we do photo and video, kind of depends on like a team's needs. For the most part, I'm usually doing video. And so it's kind of like all I really do now, which it's fun. I like it. And, I've gotten to learn a lot of tips and tricks from a lot of people that I've implemented it into my work and my workflow. And so far it's working out.
Yeah, there's so much to take away there. I think the biggest thing that I think is a takeaway for people is just understanding that. And I think you're in a very unique scenario where you didn't shoot live sports before you had to shoot live sports. You kind of learned by getting thrown into the fire, no pun intended. But you kind of got thrown into the fire and had to learn on the fly as you were just taking photos casually by yourself. But I think the learning point there, and I think the big thing that I keyed in there is that you said yes to the opportunity, no matter what it was, whatever the ask was, you said yes. And I think I'm a very big person where like at a certain point in your career, you can't be a yes guy, but when you're starting off, you don't know what opportunities are going to open doors for you. And you just doing that, taking behind the scenes photos for that ticketing campaign or whatever it was for the Chicago Fire, opened up every single door you've kind of gone through so far. So I think that's the really big lesson here for a lot of people listening is, even though you may not have a lot of sports experience, number one, just go and shoot and start understanding how to create a good image. And then number two, like if an opportunity comes your way and it isn't necessarily what you want to do, but that might be a way, and just take it. It doesn't matter what it is. And clearly it's led you down this path of then discovering video, discovering photo, and getting to where you are now. Pivoting off of that, you're in year 2, like we mentioned, of your LSC career with the NHL.
Yes.
How has it been so far? Give me like an overview of what this experience, like you get to shoot. I before you go, I say this to everybody who shoots at a high level, like you get to shoot the highest level of one of the biggest sports in the world. Like, you got to give yourself some flowers and understand like that is a legit thing. What has that experience been like so far?
Dude, it's fun. And I know we touched on it earlier, like some of the guys that walk in there through those doors, like even like Chicago with Bedard and like last night with McDavid, like to be like around some of the best and, do my thing with some of the best, it's epic. Like, I think it's no night is the same. I don't think one game has, ever been, the same outside of maybe the score. Right. And so like going into it, it's like, okay, like what's going to happen tonight? Like what is Bedard going to do that might end up on, ESPN, or what's McDavid going to do that's going to end up on SportsCenter. Right. And so like, I go into a game day like very open-minded, knowing that anything on any given night could happen. And I think that's a good way to look at it. Like if you go in with expectations and, like last night could have been a complete blowout and, like that's sad and it's like, whatever. Right. So I think overall, like going into it with an open mind is good. And no night is the same. at all, ever.
No, I totally relate. I obviously don't shoot as many games as you do, but it is nice to like I relate to that. Like no night is the same, and I think that's what makes this career fun. Is that you're not going to the office on a 9 to 5 and you know what you're doing. Like you don't know if you're going to be covering a blowout. You don't know if you're going to be covering like an unbelievable matchup. It's different every single night. Kind of along that, before we get into the Bedard of it all, because that's something I do want to touch on. Since no night is the same, what's your routine and process in a game day that stays relatively the same? Give me like the day in the life of someone who shoots NHL hockey. What time do you leave the house? What time do you get there? What do you do when you get there? You know, what coffee are you having? Like, give me the lowdown.
Yeah. So usually I get to the games 4 hours before, no matter what. Right. So I know a lot of people, some people don't shoot arrivals. I'm usually always there 4 hours early. The earliest you can get there, I'm there. Right. So I always try and get there early. I always try and sit in the same little spot at the table that, you know, like I plug my computer into, I plug my chargers into, stuff like that. And then, you know, like there's a kind of an hour window where like I'll set up my Premiere timelines. I'll, you know, like we reach out to the away teams like on Greenfly, and like we have a text thread with like Chicago's social people. So I'll reach out there. Hey, any requests for tonight? Same thing with your away team. Hey, any requests? Like what time of your bus is getting there for arrivals, stuff like that, right? And then I kind of go into, all right, like let's get ready for arrivals. Shoot arrivals. You know, if like last night, Bedard had like a Make-A-Wish kid with him, so that was like one thing that the Hawks social had flagged for us to be on the lookout for. But yeah, so shoot arrivals. If there's anything that needs to be turned around quick, you know, go chop up a video real quick, send it off to social, you know, drop some photos in for the away team and, you know, get that out. And then usually eat dinner, eat some food. And then before you know it, it's warm up time. And usually I spend my time out on Chicago's bench, you know, very thankful that this year they let us out there, which it's been super epic, you know, really kind of embed yourself. You're there, right? You're here to there with Bedard as he skates by on the bench, right? And so, you know, getting out there for warm-ups and getting some fun content of that. I know NHL has been loving his little like he tosses his stick and does a little spin, and he started doing that maybe a month or two ago. And so like that's been a fun trend, you know, that I like to always capture, not only for myself but for the league social. Like it does well, and you know, he always does the same thing, and it's funny and like it's weird. Like I always say, like hockey players are some of the strangest guys I've ever met.
They're very strange,
very superstitious, very strange, stuff like that. And so like it's cool to like, you know, pick up on little routines and like what do some of these guys do like when they walk in. Like Bedard, for example, his Yeti cup that he walks in with, it'll like usually always match whatever shirt he's wearing. So like if he has a black shirt on, he has his black Yeti. If he has a white shirt on,
do you think he has a Yeti sponsorship going there? Probably, right?
Dude, he's got to, right? Like if not, Yeti's missing out. Yeti.
Yeah.
Like
get on that. Get
on that, right?
Yeah, my guy, this sponsorship. Quick pause from today's video because I just want to take a quick second to say thank you to all of you who are watching and engaged with my content over the last few years. Whether you've been subscribed, dropping comments, liking, or even just watching these videos, you have no idea how much I appreciate that and how much it's helped me progress and grow this channel to where it is today. And I really just want to say thank you for a quick second, because I would not be here where I am today making YouTube videos on the side of what I'm doing if it wasn't for your incredible support over the last little while. You guys know very well that I'm here because I want to help you guys grow and break into this industry in the same way I did. And I know that is a pretty big task and something that can be really intimidating, from figuring out how to shoot sports, nailing the right look, or even breaking into the right rooms and learning how to network with the right people to get opportunities. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but I'm here to try and provide value and help you guys along the way. And there's one other way that you guys can support me and that I can help you guys that I want to talk about really quickly. If you've ever gotten value from the content I'm posting here on YouTube and you want to support support me a little bit more directly and also get more bang for your buck on how much you can invest in this industry, I actually have a full digital storefront website with a ton of assets and resources to help people just like you guys who are actively working or trying to break into the sports creative industry. On my digital storefront, there are a ton of products that I've been curating over the last few years in order to help you guys create content better and faster than ever before, like the LUTs I use to color grade my videos, the Lightroom presets I use to edit all of my photos, and even strategy guides and email templates for how to reach out to sports teams and get opportunities faster. No pressure whatsoever, but if that sounds helpful or interesting to any of you, just know the link will be down in the description below for you guys to check out my digital storefront and all those assets I previously mentioned. And even if you don't end up buying anything, your support by just watching today's video means the world to me. Anyways, that's it for me. Let's get back to today's video. No, I was just going to kind of go along there. We're talking about Bedard, obviously like a young phenom, the next guy in line to be that next best player in the league in a few years. I want to just touch base on that because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of teams in the NHL and a lot of people who do kind of what you do, but not a lot of them have the ability to shoot a player of that caliber or that potential caliber. Obviously, a bit of a down year this year for him compared to last season. But what has it been like covering a player like Connor Bedard so far?
Dude, it's fun. And I think the biggest thing for me is, like he was injured a bit of the last season for quite a significant amount of time. And so I only shot one game with him. And then we went like a month and a half, 2 months before, he was back. And then when he was back, he had the bubble, stuff like that, which was super cool to like see him with that. Cause people were like, oh, he used to wear the bubble like in his junior days, stuff like that. I think the biggest thing though is just seeing his growth and like seeing him, grow on and off the ice. Like when he walks in, like, hey Connor, what up, dude? And he always usually says hi and like he sees all of us and, like he does his thing. I feel very lucky to, be around an athlete who's, one of the best and is hopefully going to be one of the best in the game in the future. And I definitely don't take that for granted. Night in and night out, like every time like they're on an away visit, and like I always like to see like what is somebody else capturing of Bedard, like right, like I always get so in tune of what I shoot of him, and like I try and relatively keep it the same, for warm-ups, like his stick handling, him, last on the ice, last off the ice. But it's cool to like see like what other people are, creating with him on the ice and, off the ice, stuff like that. So like anytime like they're visiting another city, like I'm usually on Slack that night, like, hey, what did so-and-so get of Bedard, or, like what did Nick in Buffalo get of Bedard tonight? Like he did his, famous head track. And I was like, dude, like, it's so sick to like see like what other people are creating with him. And like, I draw a lot of inspo from like, like what others are doing. So it's cool to see like, like, I see what I see with him, but it's cool to see like what somebody else sees that like, only gets to see him for one night. And I feel very lucky to, see him on multiple nights throughout the season.
Yeah, no, I love that. That kind of point you made of like, even though you are the one who gets to capture him, the majority, it's you take a lot of interest in what other people are doing. And I think that speaks a lot to like your ability to keep consistent and fresh content throughout the years. Just like you're not just repeating and washing your hands repeatedly of the same thing over and over and over again. You're like, no, I want to see how other people are taking images, how other people are capturing this guy and just other hockey players in general. And I think that's a really good thing, because I think people get so stuck in their head about like what they're making that they forget that there's other people they can draw inspo from or even just like kind of be refreshed by. And that kind of actually really segues really well. How do you keep it fresh with the content that you capture, video or photo, throughout an NHL season? Because obviously there's like roughly 48 home games, I think. Right. And you probably shoot about half of those, or just a little over half of those. Yeah. How do you keep it fresh when you're shooting 20 plus games of the same team every single night? How do you keep it looking different?
Yeah, it's definitely hard, like, and like it can feel really repetitive. However, like I think for me, the biggest thing is like I switch up the editing, right? So like for arrivals, I'll throw a little flair in there, and that's kind of like my signature like touch on like what I on like what I deliver, right? And then for in-game action, you know, like usually I'm up top. Like a lot of times, like I'm I'm up in the upper level shooting down, and that's kind of something that like like it's used everywhere, but like I've kind of adopted it for myself. And I think, you know, getting those fans and, you know, if they score a goal, like fans will be kind of in the foreground, and it kind of
Yeah.
just it creates a moment that like you can't really get on the glass. However, you know, like you shoot on the glass a lot. Like there's things you get to shoot from ice level that just look better from ice level, right? So I think being able to, you know, switch it up when you can, and like it's good to, you know, be in a flow of things and not switch up too much, but it can definitely feel repetitive sometimes where like, hey, like I don't want to be up top anymore, you know? So like
Yeah.
I'll go down to ice level, or like I'll just do photo one night. Like I won't even touch video. And so like stuff like that where it kind of breaks it up a little bit is good, because, you know, you feel like you're doing the same thing, and, you know, you get burnt out, and it's like another game. Like
Yeah.
how can I try and do something different tonight, opposed to, you know, what I did last night, what I did the night before, what I did last week, what I did last month, right? So I think being able to find things within your work that you can tweak here and there, I think is key.
Yeah, there again, so much I can touch on. I love the way you're kind of breaking this up in different things.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you're saying, like, I think so many people get tunnel vision into you have to be on the glass or you have to be on the floor for something like basketball. You have to be field side for like football or
Yeah.
soccer. And I'm like, it's not necessarily like that all the time. Like you can get such good images and such good content from above, from higher angles. You've done it. Nick in Buffalo has done it. Like there's so many people who do it so well. So I love the fact that you're just like, you know, you can't let where you are be a limitation, but you're also on the other hand saying like, in order to not let it be monotonous, I'm going to move around, I'm going to change up what I'm capturing.
Right.
And I think also having that ability and knowledge of taking photos and not just having to rely on video. I feel the same way when I'm at shooting an event or like a game. It's like sometimes I'll just shoot photo because I do, I'm getting the same clip every single time.
Yeah.
But I also think where you and I differ is you shoot so much more than me. You shoot all these games with the year. I shoot my end, like the major events for the most part. And so like I'm going to Four Nations next week, and this is the first hockey I'm capturing in almost a year, which is insane.
Yeah.
But like for me, it's such a different perspective because for me, I'm like, I'm fresh, I'm ready to go. It's like I've been on the injured reserve for God knows how long, and like I'm finally getting to
back.
But like I'm so energized to do that, and I have had so much time to think about what I want to do. But if I was to shoot this all the time, there is a little bit of burnout. There is a little bit of repetitiveness that you have to improve. And I love the way that you just said, like, you're changing things, whether it's where you are or how you're shooting it or the perspective or what's in the foreground. Like so many little things I think that people can take away from is just like changing just a few things can kind of change the entire perspective of what you're capturing. That allows for it to be fresh. And I love that you got to shoot a very, very special event this year in the Winter Classic in Chicago at Wrigley Field. That is definitely the furthest from a normal hockey game you will ever get, because I've done one myself. But it's such a cool event. What was it like from your perspective to capture an outdoor hockey game at one of the most historic baseball stadiums in the world?
Dude, it was a blast, you know, and I'm actually going to start this with a good little full circle moment story. So when I was younger, my dad and my brother and we went to the outdoor game at Soldier Field against Pittsburgh. And this was years ago, like talking Little Ryan, right?
Yeah.
And I remember like it was snowing, like we were covered in snow. We were like way up in the 400 section. Like I remember it was a blast. And that's all I could think about. Like the whole time I was there, like what a weird, cool, full circle moment it was to, like, you know, here I was as a fan all these years ago. And now here I am doing what I love, like on New Year's Eve in Chicago, like you said, at Wrigley, iconic venue. It was fun. It was definitely a cool way to, you know, end the quote unquote year and quote unquote, you know, hit that 1 year mark with the NHL. It was a fun way to, like, just, you know, wrap the
Like
year up.
a cherry on top
Yeah,
of everything.
it was. It was cool to like, start the year with the NHL and ironically end the year with the NHL, right?
Yeah.
And so it was something like, you see it on TV and it's cool. You're there in person. It's epic. Like
Yeah.
the Hawks came on the Red Line train, like on the subway, and I was like, dude, like I rode the subway to like Cubs games when I was down here at college, right? Like, and here they are getting off the train, like at the same stop, like just little things like that, where like it just made the day like feel so cool. And working with Chris, he's the other LSC here in Chicago, and then Nick in Buffalo, and then Troy in Detroit. They were in, and like it was just cool to like work with those guys and work with all of NHL social and everything that just went into it. It was a lot of prep. Like I know there's a lot of back end things that people don't see, and like we show up for the day before for like family skate and practice, and like that was kind of like the first like real like moment. I was like, dang, like we're here. Like there's guys skating outside, practicing outside, stuff like that. And then the day of the game, it's like it's just another hockey game, right? Like it's still a game, but you're outside, right? Like under the lights. Like it was so cool. Like
it's surreal for sure.
It is like it's hard to explain. It's like one of those things. It's hard to explain unless like you've been there, like either as a fan or working like in either capacity. Over 10 out of 10, 12 out of 10.
I think for me, it was just like, because I shot the Winter Classic 2 years ago when I was in Boston against Pittsburgh. And I think the moment it hit me was when the players were coming out of the dugouts, and I'm like, and they have like, you're normally used to this bowl setup, but instead it's like this open
you're
air
surrounded. Yeah,
you're surrounded by tens of thousands of people. And it's just like, that's when it kind of hit me. It was just like, what? Because like normally you're like, you look up and you just see like the bowl, but then you look up and it's the sky, and then like it's the depth, it's the perspective and the depth that changes everything. Did you have to change anything in your shooting style? Where were you shooting from for the majority of the game?
Yes,
because obviously, go on.
I had a spot like assigned to me on the glass. So Chris and I were on each opposite ends. So we were posted. So I was shooting on the glass the whole game for that. And like that's not something I normally do. And one challenge I did run into, believe it or not, was like it was raining not the whole game, but majority of the game, majority of the day. And so there was rain on the glass, right? So like navigating like that, like there's no water droplets on the glass like inside of the United Center unless somebody shaves some ice and hits the glass, right? So like little things like that, like okay, hey, like we're outside, like like batteries, they're gonna die quicker, or like your stuff's gonna get wet, right? So like things like that I wasn't used to, like inside, being able to adjust for the outdoor game. Overall, like I said, it's just another hockey game. But it's outside, right? So like there's things that are different, but a lot of it like stayed the same. We had like card runners, which was super nice. So like if we got a goal, somebody would come out and they'd go turn it around for us, which is a lot different than like what we do on a nightly basis at a regular game. Because like we get a goal, whip out the laptop and pop the SD card in, cut it up, send it off. So it's super cool to like, like, hey, here's my card. Like, can you go edit this goal for me? And then like, we're able to, pop another card in and keep shooting. Yeah. It's like stuff like little things like that. I was like, dude, like this is cool. Like we're just to be able to like pump out all that content for those 2 days. It was a blast. It was fun.
Yeah, no, I love that perspective. And I think it's just, I think at the end of the day, like you'll always remember those bigger events, those kind of milestone moments. Like, I know for me, the Winter Classic is always going to have a very special place in my heart just because of like the granditude of it. Like there's really nothing like it in sports. Like I know, like, we had the Super Bowl for the NFL. That's their thing. Like, you know, the NBA, it's like Christmas Day is kind of their thing. Like, I think the NHL's always had the Winter Classic as like that marquee, like, you know, it's going to be fun. And that's awesome. Pivoting away a little bit for the NHL for a little bit. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're doing outside of hockey when you're not shooting it? Obviously, I mentioned you did some NASCAR, you did some Chicago Fire in the past, but what else are you doing right now? So that's been keeping you busy.
NASCAR season 3. Yeah, season 3 is upon us, and I'll actually be in Daytona next weekend for the 500. So that's basically like their Super Bowl, right? Their winter class. They start with that. Like they're, you know what? We're
the
biggest one. Yeah, the big dog. So this is my first one. So I'm super excited to get down there for that. Should be a good weekend. NASCAR Chicago year 3. You know, hopefully don't get rained on this year. So back to racing in the streets. I did Olympic trials this summer, worked with Team USA, which was up there on, you know, year moments. That was top 3 year moments right there of, you know, being a part of that. And I was down in Indianapolis, and for those familiar, Lucas Oil Stadium where the Colts play, they built a pool inside a football stadium. And
I remember seeing that on Twitter, and it blew my mind.
It was insane. And so I was down there with Team USA for almost 2 weeks, and just day in and day out, just capturing content for swimming trials. That was one of the coolest things by far. You know, like it was cool seeing. I think the biggest thing with that was capturing moments of like the highest of highs, right? You know, people going to their first Olympics, people going to their 5th Olympics, right? And then the downside of, you know, capturing some of like the lowest of lows, right? Like people who just missed qualifying for their first Olympics or qualifying for their 6th Olympics, right? So it was cool to like be a part of those moments, and, you know, like, hey, you're going to your first Olympics, right? And like the emotion that comes in.
Yeah.
And, you know, we were doing a lot of like quick stuff for social. So like a lot of stuff on Team USA social. So same thing, you know, get a super cool clip. We're going to turn it around, and we're going to post it. And working with everyone at Team USA was awesome. Like all great people. And it was so cool to kind of be a part of that moment, that week, 2 weeks in time.
Yeah. How do you adjust your creative process when it's a different sport? Because hockey and racing are completely different, and then you have swimming, which is a completely different like bag of worms, can of worms. Like how do you shift gears when you're going from drastically different sports?
Yeah, it's definitely a learning curve, and like I think you can relate. Like you got to be able to adjust on the fly, right? Like, you know, they hired you for like your skills and kind of like what you have to offer, right? And even if it's something you've never shot before, like they brought you in for your skills, and they want you to use your skills to, you know, capture this moment or this sport. I think it was hard, like especially for swimming. Like I've never shot swimming before, like so I didn't really know like what to expect. And like, you know, I tried like Googling and like researching like, okay, like what is a videographer who shoots swimming? Like what did his shots look like? Is it slow-mo? Is it, you know, fast paced? Is it wide? Is it tight? Right. So I think I did a lot of research before then, but I don't think anything still can prepare you for like, once you're there, like, you know, on the pool deck, like, all right, like they're on the block, they're going to jump off, here we go. And so like for that, I think the biggest thing is just like, you can do all the research you want, but I think like once you're there and you're in the moment, like, you know, dial in your settings and adjust on the fly. I know like for the first couple of days, a lot of it was kind of just like trials. So like heats, right? So like there wasn't really any meaning behind it. So for those first like 1-2 days, like I was like, okay, this works here, this doesn't work here. And then by the time like the bigger events started, I was like, all right, like I kind of know like how to shoot this, how to shoot that, stuff like that. And so I think being able to adjust on the fly is key because, you know, something might go wrong and like you got to be able to flex and change like on the fly.
Yeah. No, I love that adaptability. I kind of want to take that and shimmy onto my next topic. In an industry that's a very talented pool of people across the board. You mentioned it's a big industry, but it's a small industry. How do you manage to make yourself stand out for all these opportunities? What do you do different, and how do you make sure you do something differently to make others stand out?
Oh, that's a hard one because like I still feel like some days like I'm still trying to find like, you know, my look or my style. And I know I touched on it earlier, like even just like adding like a little flair, like either at the start or in the middle of a clip, like that way, like if I like repost it to my story or post it on my, like you see the little flicker, right? So like little things like that, I try and set myself apart. However, like you said, like the industry's so big, there's so many talented people. Like I do find it hard sometimes to like, you know, separate myself from others in the industry. But at the end of the day, I don't really let that kind of like affect me or get to me. It's like I know I'm doing my thing. I'm putting out good, high quality content to the best of my ability, and you know, like there is expectation with the content that, you know, like we're capturing that like stuff is in focus, and like, you know, we could touch on this in a minute, but like you're not going to get every single shot. However, like you still want to be in a position to have the opportunity to get every shot and and to do that thing. So I think, yeah, like it's hard, but like at the end of the day, like I think if you stay true to yourself and like you have good work, you have a good personality, and like you conduct yourself in a way that's professional and whatnot, like I think the work speaks for itself. However, like you still want to be a decent human being first over like you could have the amazing work, and like if you're like, can we cuss on here? Like if you're a shitty human being, like it doesn't matter, right? Like so I think, you know, be a good person, develop those connections, have good work, and everything will come together and give you opportunities to do what you want to do.
You're preaching to the choir, because like I always tell people, I'm like, you want a job, you want to stand out, like just be a good human. Like it is the easiest thing you can do. But like I find so many people get caught up in like the cloud of it all, or like the ego of it all. And I'm like, no, like I don't care. You can be the best photographer or videographer in the world, but if you're hard to work with, if you don't have a good attitude, if you don't have a good like mentality, if you don't work well with others, like it's hard for you to find opportunities. So I love that you pivoted from like, you could have said anything. You could have said your editing speed, your editing style, how you deliver things. No, yours is just basic human decency, which we forget goes a long way. What do you think? I kind of want to go into the creative process a little bit. What is it about your process that I think that allows you to maintain a good lifestyle? Because we talked about it really briefly before we got into the podcast. I'm actually going to pivot the question then. How do you maintain a healthy work-life balance? Because that's part about longevity in this career. I've talked about it before on the channel, but like you have or you just got a job, he does this daytime job, but you also freelance full time. You basically work for the NHL most nights. How do you maintain a healthy work-life balance in order to allow you to keep growing in this industry?
It's definitely something that took time to figure out. And I'll be the first to say my work-life balance was terrible at first, right? Like, you get so caught up in wanting to edit all the time, or wanting to, go out and shoot all the time, right? And I think as a younger creative, like you feel drawn to like you gotta go shoot, you gotta edit, you gotta
make 24/7,
And don't get me wrong, I was caught up in that, right? Like editing photos over again, right? Like stuff I already edited, I would go back and like, edit again for no reason, right? But it's like, I want to make this look better than it did, last week. And so like trying to pull myself away from that when I was, up and coming, it was hard, right? And then throw school in there. So like now I'm a full-time student. I was a full-time student, and okay, like, you got to go to class during the day. Like if you have an opportunity that comes up, like, what are you going to take? Right. And, for me, I'll be the first to say, like, once NASCAR started taking off, like here in Chicago, like I was like, hey, like I have an opportunity to, shoot for NASCAR. Like I'm not going to be at class today. Like, oh, all right, you're good. Right. And so like going in that direction, it's like, all right, like you're feeding into the work. Right. Well, then it's like, what do you do with the rest of the hours of your day? Right. And so it's like this, especially in sports, like I know you'll agree with me on this. It's like the hours, they're different, right? Like you could be up early one day for something, or you could be out till 2 a.m. like I was last night because of a late game. And so I think, finding that balance between work and life is key. And for me, the biggest thing was like, like when do I close the laptop, right? Like when do I put the camera back in my bag and like, okay, like we're not picking this up today, or we're not opening this laptop today, right? And like it took a while to, like, how do I pull myself out of work and focus on Ryan, the 24-year-old, 22-year-old, 23-year-old, like still in college. Like, how do I go out and have fun with my friends or go out to dinner and whatnot, right? And so like for me, like it was just like, okay, like you're not working on this today. Like go enjoy your Saturday.
You have to make that intentional time.
Go enjoy your Saturday. Go enjoy your Sunday, right? And like for me, like, spend time with friends, spend time with family, right? And so I think having that work-life balance is key. Number one, like if you're not able to separate yourself from work and life, work will just eat you alive. It will. Like, and nobody wants that. And nobody wants to be working 24/7, 365 days a year. And so for me, like it just going back to those roots of like, close the laptop, like log off, like stuff like that. And
you need to have working hours. Like business is only open from this time to this time, and then you shut up. But it's hard when you freelance too, because the lines kind of become blurred because there's no work hours, right? So I totally get where you're coming from. And like speaking from my own experience, like for me, obviously like social life and having time with the families is important. For me, it's been sleep, dude. Like holy moly, has like getting good sleep changed the vibe for me. There's entirely in the last year.
There's not enough hours in the day to, I don't think, catch up on sleep. I think I got 5 hours last night. By the time I got home and I
didn't you got a Whoop? You should be tracking your sleep, bro. Come on.
I went to the ring.
You went to the ring. Okay.
So I went to the ring, and I think it told me this morning like I got like 5 hours of sleep, and like
bro, I got like 5 hours.
My recovery was like a 40, and like everything was red, and I was like, yeah, like today is just, like.
But don't you find it really interesting how when you actually keep track of it, how aware you are of that? Like on the days I can get 8 hours of sleep, I don't know if this is you, on the days I can guarantee myself 8, I take every minute of those 8 hours.
What? You have to.
But because if you don't, you will burn yourself out. And then you have the aspect of like, am I seeing my family enough? Am I seeing my parents enough? Am I going to work on me instead of working on my business? It is truly, truly a balance. I want to shift gears again to talk about work, even though we were just talking about taking a break from work. We're talking about work. I don't like talking about gear. I made it very obvious in my brand. It's just not my thing. But I think it's important to know what people are shooting with, especially at the highest level. Give me a little 411 on what you're rocking with these days when you're shooting the NHL, NASCAR, Olympic trials, whatever.
Yeah. So right now I shoot everything on Canon. I have the R6 is my go-to, my baby right now for hybrid photo and video. All the RF glass. A lot of the time, usually the 70 to 200 is glued to the camera, just because like, that's the lens that's like, the sport, quote unquote sports lens, right? You see just about everybody shooting sports with a 7200. And like for me at NHL games, like that's my go-to. Like our rivals, we're shooting at 70 to 200. Warm-ups, 70 to 200. In game, up top, 70 to 200. And like last night, I threw the 24 to 70 on for a little bit and like went down on the glass just to switch it up. And like it felt weird, but I was like, you know what? Like we'll switch it up tonight for a bit and see what happens. For me, like I know we talk about like gear, it matters, but it doesn't matter, or it doesn't matter, but it matters. You know, like however you want to look at that. For the longest time, I had like a $500 like Rebel camera, right? And then that I saved all my pennies for, and I used that for majority of like my early photography career. And I just buy lenses, right? And then eventually save my pennies, got another camera, got the EOS R, which is one below the R6. Shot on that, you know, like didn't do great video, and I was like, I really want something like, you know, more geared towards video, something that could do 4K, something that could do slow-mo, right? Enter the R6, and it's been my old reliable for the last two-ish years, 2.5 years, and I like it. So it works for me. You know, have I thought about switching to, you know, to the Sony or another body? Yes, but I think then comes another learning curve of, you know, learning a new system, and, you know, like what works for me. What works for somebody else might not work for me, but works for them. So I think, you know, I've been in I've been in scenarios where, like, the perfect example, like I shot for Duke football when they were up here at Northwestern, right? And it was just easier for me to use a Sony camera that they had. So just to keep everything the same across the board for video, I used their Sony. So I was like, you know what? Like, I don't mind like switching on the fly, like if it's going to make it easier for them. So like there's scenarios like that where, like, you know, like, hey, like we prefer this or we prefer that. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like I'll figure it out. Like, give me a quick crash course and
I'll make it work.
Out.
It's a camera's a camera.
Exactly. So I think gear matters. It doesn't matter, like, depending on who you ask, like all cameras make good images. All cameras do good video, especially nowadays. Like the technology that's out there is insane. Like you could go get something super budget friendly and make good stuff.
Yeah, I think you hit it on the nail on the head there by just saying, like, at the end of the day, I think the biggest thing I relate to with your journey with camera gear is that you didn't necessarily like get the next and best thing every single time. You waited until you outgrew a camera and you're like, I need these features. This doesn't have it. Let me go to the next thing. Okay, this one's good, but then you did it again. So it's like, you don't necessarily always have to get the best camera off the rip. It's not a heavy investment. You can get something really easy, use it to learn, and eventually when you outgrow that is the time to move on. And I think that's something that a lot of people, especially starting off, can take away from, is just understanding you don't need the best thing right away. You could just shoot on your phone, for crying out loud. And then eventually when you're tired of shooting with your phone, or
16 Pro Max, you plug an SSD into it and call it a day, and you could do like ProRes. I haven't messed with it, but like you see commercials, music videos shot on the iPhone now, and it's like, dude, like people with iPhones can do just as good as stuff with like DSLR mirrorless.
Yeah, no, it's true. What is one piece of gear that you bought in your career that you would recommend for people to look into early on?
Ooh, I'm a big behind the scenes guy. I know you love the behind the scenes stuff too. So like anything behind the scenes that like you can get some content for yourself. I know like we get so caught up in the moment of like, you know, we're shooting for this, we're shooting for that. It's cool to like have that like behind the scenes for yourself. So like 360 camera, super fun to use. Like I love that. I just picked up the Ray-Ban Metas, those glasses. And so like I've been slowly kind of like working those into like a game day or into like a shoot. So I think like a 360 camera, super fun. I know it's kind of corny, but like an iPhone mount for your camera. Like,
it's not corny. I don't think it's corny at all, man. I think it's how everyone does it.
Dude, I love it. Like I literally just,
Yeah,
pop the phone on top, hit record, and like it records for like 5 minutes, and like
you're flying.
I might get it on my phone, but I might not get it on the camera, but at least I got it on my phone, right? And I think like
Exactly.
it's just that cool POV of like, hey, you're in it, right? Like you're seeing kind of like what I see, and I think stuff like that is cool. And like I said, people get so drawn into like shooting the action, and they're not like
In the moment.
in the moment. Yeah, they're in the moment, and it's like, hey, like get that clip for yourself too. Like get you in action, 360 camera, like on the glass, on the field, whatever it might be.
Yep.
Also, another thing that I just thought of,
Go for it.
SD card adapter for your phone, lifesaver. Get it on Apple, get it on Amazon. If you want to do live content and you want to get content out quick, SD card adapter.
That's a very, 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 very underrated one. Last question, gear wise, is there something that you bought that you regret getting that you don't use anymore that just gathers dust? For me, it's a drone. I don't use it. It sits in my closet. But what is one piece of gear? Go for it.
I used to use my drone quite a bit, getting those photos of Chicago. I have a lens that is a let's just say $1,500 paperweight on my desk. Okay.
You don't want to say what lens it is?
So, I will. Sigma. Okay, it's from Sigma. No shame to Sigma, right? It's 105 millimeter at 1.4. That's it, right? There's no zoom, and I don't have a use for it. I can't find it into my workflow right now. Like
I would tell you, use that on the bench. I once, during my first Stanley Cup final, used, I think it was Troy from Detroit. He lent me a 135 prime.
Yeah.
And I got some magnificent images from that. I would keep trying it. Try it somewhere. Yeah. It's a good lens.
Friday, I'm going to bring it. Friday, I'll bring it and I'll report back. But dude, for the life of me, I haven't touched it I think the last time I picked it, I brought it to Olympic trials with me, but I didn't use it. And so it's just been sitting on my desk, and it's like, I need to find a use for it.
Yeah. Just to kind of start wrapping things up here as we get towards the end. What is a piece of advice that you would give to yourself if you were able to talk to the younger version of Ryan just starting off before you started working in the sports industry? What is one piece of advice or you would give to him and or to someone who's just looking to get started? What is the one piece of advice you would give?
Definitely just keep sticking with it. I think I know we touched on with COVID, it kind of put a wall on things, and I didn't really let that affect me too much, just because I felt like I was so close to being there and having that opportunity. So I think just don't give up and just keep pushing for what you want. For younger people out there, I know, dude, you see it all the time. Some of the high school sports creatives out there are insane, dude. When I was in high school, I was not doing that at all.
I agree,
dude. And so there's this new wave of creatives, especially in the sports world, that dude, they're crushing it. And now
they're cooking for real.
They're cooking, as the youth would say. They're cooking, right? And so I think just keep doing your thing. You're young, you already have. I feel like some of these kids, they have such an upper leg on by the time they get to college, and if you go to a big time university now, here in the States, you could go to school and shoot college football while you're a student, right? And travel, or shoot college basketball, or shoot college hockey, or whatnot. All these schools have massive creative departments where you can intern and dip your feet into collegiate sports, and you see it all over the place. All these creatives who work in college as interns, they go off and they go work in the pros, or they go work at another university, or they stay at that university and work, right? So I think for those younger creatives, just keep doing it, keep crushing it. You're young, don't, especially back to work-life balance, don't get caught up in it. You're still a student at the end of the day, and sports stop after a while. So like, just keep doing your thing, and it'll all work out in the end. Like if you want to make it, set that goal to make it, and you'll get there. Trust.
You just gotta keep pushing through. Yeah, for sure. What's next for you? What's coming up? You're still shooting NHL. You got we're in February, so we're in the last half of the season here. What do you have coming up in your life? What are you working on? Where are you going to be?
Yeah. So Daytona next weekend with NASCAR. So that's kicks off year 3. So we'll get back to some motorsport stuff, and then the usual, just, whatever else pops up. You never know what's going to land in the inbox. Or you'll get a DM or an email or a message, and it's like, or a LinkedIn message, and like, there's always opportunities out there, and there's stuff, leagues, sports, events that like are always popping up. They're always looking for creatives, and reach out to people from the event, reach out to a team that's there, stuff like that. Like, so like, I'm constantly looking to see what's on the horizon, to see like, hey, this might be fun to shoot. How can I maybe dip my toes into this? But yeah, it's hockey, NASCAR, living life, doing my thing.
Yep. Same old.
In the grind right now, It's going to be nice to, like you said, you're going to 4 Nations, and I'm gonna relax. I think I picked up an editing shift or 2, so I might edit some stuff here and there during 4 Nations, but for the most part, it'll be nice to just hang out, just chill.
I didn't realize that. I guess you guys all technically get a break too of 2 weeks because there's no games going on. So good for you. Take that and, like you said, like focus on yourself, focus on your people, take some time away. Yes. Where can the people find you on social media? TikTok, Instagram, YouTube? Where can they find you if they want to engage?
Instagram, TikTok. It's Ryan on Instagram, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it. I'm there occasionally, not as much. Usually I'm just on there to scroll, which like, I guess that's all right too. But IG and TikTok is kind of where I'm posting a lot of my work. So we can throw it up on the screen, or put the link in the bio, whatever.
I'll put the link in the bio. Yeah. I'll put links everything in the description.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah, no. So I'm constantly posting there when I can, like eventually, like I like to be back to, posting more than I am, but like you get so caught up in work and editing. It's just like, still, like, I haven't even posted my year recap, the IG yet. Like, it's on LinkedIn. So you wanna go see the year recap? It's on LinkedIn. But
go find this guy on LinkedIn.
Still,
for real.
It's still in the drafts on IG. It's just like I just haven't got around to it. So I think just staying up to date. Like stuff changing on social. So like I like to like kind of like if there's a trending audio, like throw a clip up with a trending audio. It usually does good. So like, just, always online, online.
Love that. I love that. Anyways, we're going to wrap this up here. Ryan, thank you so much for being part of this.
Thank you for having me.
Really appreciate your insight, everything you wanted to share. If you guys are watching and enjoyed this episode or any other episodes, make sure to leave a like on your podcasting platform, wherever you're tuning in. Go follow Ryan. Everything will be in the description below. Follow him everywhere. Give him some love. Tell him I sent you. And that does it for episode 19 of the Sports Creative Showcase. And we'll catch you guys next time.